What could you do in a works car with works backup, you think, Frank?
Take it handy and win every rally around.
The proudest time and the seat of a rally car, because that day and that hour and those minutes I got the bit between my teeth. You know, I really stood up and was counted and said, this is not getting away. I remember when we pulled on our helmets and Donald says to me, what are we doing? I said, we're going for gold, Barrett.
Welcome along to Krunching Gears, Season 2, Episode 3. In this episode, we speak to Ken Rees. Ken will be well known to many of you as the team coordinator for Subaru, and later then he became team manager whenever Petter Solberg set up his own team. There is some fascinating stories along the way. I'm sure you will enjoy it. I started off by asking Ken how he become involved in rallying.
Well, it's like everybody. If you grow up, when you're a youngster, you're growing up and you want to. In my days, you know, rallying was big in Wales, and especially motoring news events, tarmac events, and everything like that. Mm-hmm. So, like everybody, we took an interest, joined the motor club, and bought a Lotus Cortina or something I had, like a Cortina GT or whatever, mm-hmm. and just followed the sport, and just gradually got into it that way, doing a couple of 12-car events, a couple of little evening events and bits and pieces. And then when you mix with people in the motor club, of course, they're more experienced and more knowledgeable, and they bring you on a little bit, until I just I started doing a little bit of driving. But that I soon learned was an expensive way to go rallying. And I was down in Brachford one day doing an event down in Brachford, and I was driving and competing against a friend of ours, which was Rob James, who became famous in Ireland. But we were in Brachford, and I came around the left-hand corner, and I knew I'm going to lose it. And over on its side it went, and I landed right behind Rob James, who was on his side. He went off the minute before me in the ditch. And we just got talking. He said, Ken, this isn't working out for you. I said, no. He said, well, I'm not happy with my navigator. He said, so why don't you give up the driving and come and join me? I said, yeah, okay. So that was the start of that in a way. And then in the 70s, I did a lot of autosport events with Rob and carried on that way. And then it went on then through a lot of Irish events, a lot of British Championship events and things. And then I did a good few with Dennis Moody and things like that, until probably the biggest break came in latter end of 86, when I had a phone call from Gartrack, who were running a satellite team for Austin Rover, who of course running a 6R4 at that point, to say, could I do the Lombard RVC Rally? And I said, yeah. I said, who with? They said, well, they won't tell you the driver yet, but we just want to know you're available. They're starting in Bath. And I said, yeah. So anyway, I went up to Guildford to meet them, and the car was there, lovely car and everything. And then they said it was David Gillanders from Scotland, who I didn't know a lot about, but he's obviously a big name in Scotland, I think. But he had an Austin Rover dealership, and he'd had this car from Austin Rover. And obviously in 87, they knew that the Group A was going to phase out. So while we were in the semi-factory team with the likes of Llewellyn, Malcolm Wilson, Toivonen, Jimmy McRae, all in 480 brake 6R4s. We had the 300 brake one, which was going to be the new Clinton spec. So we did that rally, but they invited me up to Gaydon in England. They had a testing ground there. Well, I said, I went up there and I got there a bit early. And bear in mind, this is a Welsh guy who's done nothing more than a club event and nothing more than probably 180 brake horsepower rear-wheel drive car. I sat in. And then they saw David's coming soon. David Llewellyn was there, and his 480 brake car, they were just doing a shakedown and test. So David said to Llewellyn, well, while you're waiting, sit in with me. He said, I feel of it. Well, I said, okay, that's the helmet and the overall. Well, you know, he just went off the line. And, you know, when you're not expecting something to be anywhere near as quick. It just shook me. We went about 200 meters to a square left. And of course, during that 200 meters, I'm trying to get my head back together to think, Jesus Christ, what just happened? And of course, we're coming up to this corner then. And I thought, no way. And the thing just stopped. It just stops on a 30 bit round the left hander. Well, we did about 3 miles there. Like, it came back, got out. I thought, oh my God, how on earth am I going to do 5 days of that? Which what the RVC was then.
Yes.
How on earth, And he said, don't worry. He said, the other one's not quite as quick, but it's not bad. So anyway, David came. He came by helicopter and landed and introduced to him and everything. And he's one of those guys that had not respect is the wrong word. He was a driver, and he thought 95% of the car was a driver.
Okay.
And
right.
the other guy was just a guy who said, turn left here, turn right here, whatever.
Okay.
But I was selected because I did a lot of Welsh events. I was selected. There were no notes in those days. And I was picked because to get your head down on the maps.
Yes.
Read the road after maps to them, So, I tried to explain this. Anyway, we did the test. It was fine. Then a couple of weeks after, we met up in Bath, ready to go. It was nice in those days because Austin Rover did all the maps. Didn't have to do any of that work.
Okay.
And airplane in the air for radio communication.
Right.
And we set off. We got on well. The first stage, I got my head down and I'm calling to him, and he got to the end of the stage. I said, "How was that?" He said, "I didn't listen to a bloody word." He said, Don't talk to me on the stage." I said, David, this is great. We got 5 days of this.
Yeah.
67 stages.
Jeez.
And after the first one, he said, "Don't talk to me when I'm driving." So it took probably the first day to get used to just put it in and let him go. And then when we were coming up, when we were going quick on 200 meters, I was saying, square left, or, fast left or right. And just think, that was good. Well, that was handy. And then in the end, he's relying on me then, after a couple of days.
Yes.
But we had a good run. We went up the country, up into Scotland, across Scotland, down to North Yorkshire and everything. And then we broke a gearbox coming out of a stage up north, and we had to change the gearbox, and we were coming down the M6. At this point, we were 8th, which was pretty good. Toivonen was 9th. Yeah. Malcolm Wilson was just in front of us. These sort of level of drivers, and we're in the baby car.
Yes.
But of course, it was wet and slippery, and it suited that car. Really got good traction. And we came down the motorway, and I'm thinking, really great. Here I am coming into Wales, 8th overall at the World Championship Rally, and I'm coming into home territory. A little bit big-headed. Wait till the boys see me. And we bloody dropped the valve coming down the road. Dropped the valve, and that was the end of that. So. That was that. So then he rang me then over Christmas. He said, "I've got the car." He said, "I got back and everything. Will you do the Autosport Championship next year? Factory car and factory support and everything, 87." So I said, "Yeah, love to, yeah." So we did that. Did that in the Scottish Championship, which we won. We were runner-up in the Scottish Championship because we went off on the last event and got done for legal service. Stopped us. We had to finish in the top 10, and even after the legal service penalty, we were 18th. So we were second that to Merry Grayson, but we won the national championship, which was great. Won it on the Audi Sport and won the championship by 4 seconds.
Yeah.
12 events,
Yeah, and when you think of that year, as you say, you were getting Austin Rover support, that was a big thing then, because you had probably maybe 10 or 12 Mertos starting each rally.
Yeah.
It was
mega. And you had Malcolm Wilson doing it, Roger Clark doing it.
Yeah.
And my biggest thing, we all idolized Roger Clark. I mean, he was the guy, and when we did the event in Wales, the KL graphics, and we won it, and Roger Clark was second. And I still can't believe the moment standing on the podium, on the top of the podium, shaking hands with Roger Clark, who was next to me for second overall,
Class.
I'm thinking, my God, this isn't real. This isn't real, So little moments like that. Yeah, but I was just in the right place at the right time, got the phone call, and that was it. Yeah,
and you mentioned the Audi Sport Rally, yes, funny in front of the Mazda World Rally team, wasn't it? Timo Salmon was over doing that rally as well for a warm up for RAC.
Yeah.
And he has been a previous world champion a couple of years for it.
Yeah, there. And he was just, as I say, on the warm-up, he was running first on the road, and we were coming through Havren, And we got friendly with him, and we ran a big battle with a couple of 6R4s. Mostly was with Pat Duran, Liam Duran's father, who was going well. And he was, and we were a little bit behind him. And I remember Salonen said to us, "I'll make the lines. You follow my lines," you know. And he went through, and he said to the guy, "You know, if you see the line, you follow my line. If you see I'm stopped, well, you know, don't take that line." But we did. We went through and we followed his lines, and it was incredible, the cuts he was taking, and and you could see it. You could see where he braked. You know, he was leaving the digging where he left the late braking. Whereas we were braking probably 20, 30 meters earlier. We left the braking and really did well on that. And then we went into the last stage, and we were, I think, 7 seconds behind Duran going to the last stage. And Malcolm was there, and Malcolm was backing us because Malcolm was helping run the car. And Malcolm was at the finish line. This one, Gillanders will tell you. So we had to do 2 runs to the stage, and it was wet. So we, what was it? Duran took slicks because it was a tarmac stage, and we took forest tires. But they chopped the order round a bit, like, and we were running probably about 8th or 9th on the road. And we decided to take forest tires because I said, well, they're going to cut. If you look, you know, it's only through a park, and cars are going to cut. When we get, anyway, as it turned out fine for us, because we went through first month thing, and we took a lump off Duran because he was on. It was still wet. The mud had come out. He was on slicks, and they were slicks in those days. And he lost quite a bit of time. We came back round, we had a quick tire change. He went back onto forest tires, but we'd taken enough off him. We'd taken 11 seconds off him. We were 7 behind. We'd taken 11 off him, and hence that gave us a 4-second win. But a funny one at that, just a quick one, don't want to bore you. We got to the end of the stage with all the excitement. Malcolm is 20 meters down the road at the time control, and we've at the flying finish on the watch there. And we're waiting for Duran, who's coming after us. We stopped, and they got a time. Marsha gave me a bit of paper, what I just put in the glove box. You know? Didn't even look at the bit of paper. We're standing there. Malcolm, we're looking at Malcolm. I said, well, we're going to have to go soon, David. Wait, he's coming. Malcolm puts his thumbs up. Yes, you know, obviously on the watch, clocked it. We were quicker. We jumped the car. Which way? I got the road book. I said, down here, go left, go right, go back. We had about 7 or 8 miles to go to the hotel where the finish was. And down the road, there was a road. The road was blocked up. Workmen, everything. No way. Road's closed.
Oh, Christ.
Right. He said, which way? I said, I don't know. The road book says, I don't know. And of course, I didn't know Telford. Picked a bit of paper. It was a route amendment.
Oh.
Well, of course, the route amendment started back at the stage finish.
Yes.
And now I'm 4 miles into it. I got no clue where I am on that. So I said, David, well, there it is. There's the big Audi balloon up above the hotel. You could see it a couple of miles away. I said, get to that, whatever. Well, my heart was beating. We went down one-way street the wrong way, went round about the wrong way. We were just going whatever we could to aiming, you know, straight line to this thing. Found it, got the hotel. Whack. There was a ramp. The finish ramp was outside the hotel, right by the door. Got to there. Oh, I looked at my watch. Christ, that was close, you know.
Yeah.
Almost on the minute. I said, where's the control? I'm out, got the time card. Where's the control? In the foyer of the hotel, like 20 meters down the foyer of the hotel. I ran down there, slapped card in front of the guy, like, time, no. I said, you know, stop there. And it was 10 seconds to go before I was over my minute. If I'd have been 10 seconds later, we'd have had to pick 10-second penalty.
And lost.
We won the event by 4 seconds and lost in a second. Could you imagine me walking back out
to
say,
sorry.
Not a lot of people know that, except all your listeners.
No, yeah.
You know, how close, how, you know, even to the last minute, you just cannot give up. You just got to do your job to the final thing, you know.
And that car has now become quite famous. That car has become quite famous now.
Yeah.
The car SOS last week, you know, in those news.
Watched that last week. SOS, it was. I was supposed to go. Well, I got invited to that, but obviously with the COVID situation the way it was, I couldn't fly to Ireland for it and things like that. So, but Mr. McKay sent me a message in the week. He said he'd like me to meet up with me, and he wants a signature on the car. He's obviously got
brilliant.
David's signature. He wants me to sign it somewhere. I don't know where it is. So I said, yeah, certainly. I said, I'd come to Ireland at some point, but you want to come over when the panic COVID's over. But he said, no, he's coming to UK soon with it for some reason.
Brilliant.
So I said, oh, okay,
Cool.
I'll meet him. But yeah, good luck to them. They look a nice family, you know.
They do. They seem very genuine. Yeah, like I've had a few wee deals with them there. They were at Deja Vu last year in Donegal. The father and son of a Stratus replica as well too. You know, so yeah, they seem real good people. You know, so.
Yeah, it seemed very good movement. I'm glad it all came out for him okay.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, got a lot of publicity of the car last week.
Without a doubt, yeah, it was all over social media, wasn't it? And I'm just looking at your 87 season as well. A bit of a strange one through in the middle of the whole thing. A Subaru RT for the Scottish Rally. I suppose David wanted to do his home international, did he? You know, so. Well,
it came from Switzerland, and it was offered to him to do the Scottish. The guy offered it to him, and he said, "Yeah, we tried because it was a 4-wheel drive car. It was everything. It wasn't that good, but it was solid. You know, you could really do anything with it. But that was a one-off drive with that on the Scottish. Yeah, so it wasn't too exciting. But it was nice to do the Scottish, but the car wasn't that exciting. It wasn't underpowered, but it was built like a tank.
Yes.
It was heavy in early days of Subaru, you know.
And then from like the Group B Metro, the monster that it was, to a Montego of all things for the following season.
Well, yeah, because the 6R4 had dropped out of it was out of rallying, wasn't it? The idea then was, for Austrian Rover point of view, and British Car Rentals, who are sponsors, they said, well, let's do a turbo.
Montego.
Whatever, yeah, Montego.
Yeah.
Well, it was terrible, you know. It was 0 to 0, really, after winning the championship and then going out in that and being caught on stages, you know, something that never happened before, and things like that.
Yes.
You know,
I suppose just been rolling car 1 or car 2 in the road and everything, you know. So.
Yeah, you know, and David didn't like it. It was it was front wheel drive only, and it was doomed for failure in a way, but it really wanted a lot more development put on it. But of course, Austrian Rover were winding down then, that they had nothing competitive to go for and everything. So that was that, you know. But the other interesting one is the run-in was Jeff Churchill's Savage 200.
Yeah.
Which that was on the Audi again. And that was a good car, though Jeff had slowed down a bit in those days, but he was still a good pilot. But that was an incredible machine. Much like when I jumped in the 6R4, first of all, you know, I thought, wow, how good this is, you know. But then got sort of very used to the 300 brake one, the Cleveland one. But then to go back into a 480 brake car again, which Jeff's car was, you know, was an eye opener. And to be truthful, I think he'd only just got it and he hadn't had much experience in it, and it was a bit quick for him. You know, that we never had the car to its full potential on that event.
Okay, yes.
By a long way, because he was still learning it and didn't want to put into the woodwork of anything, and he didn't want to put in the trees. He just wanted to bring it home. But it drew a lot of interest on the event, and it was a good experience. Yeah. And again, when you're in central Wales, it was lovely stages. You could and Jeff is his car control is brilliant, and God rest him. His car control and his ability. So when you had lovely fast flowing bends like that, you could really play with it, you know. So it was very, very excited that way.
I like him used to come from driving Porsches and all, then, very used to that flow, keep the speed up and all that, driving Porsches and all too, wouldn't it? You know, so and you had
Jeff could drive anything.
Yeah. And the guy that finished behind you that year as well was a young Colin McRae, which was
little did we know at that point what was destined for him, you know, in his career and everything. But that was good. Then I had a bit of a quietish 88, 89 away, doing a lot of club events with Dennis Moody and Eppins, and I think won a couple of Eppins with him and things like that. And I did IPA Rally with Phil Collins.
Oh yes.
I did that in one of the Avis, the Cosworth,
Okay.
the Sierra Cosworths.
Mhm.
Remember, they were the Magnificent Seven, they called them. They gave 7 cars.
The dealers, the RS dealers all around.
Yeah.
Yep. UK.
And Phil Collins had one, and we did it, and that was a quick thing.
Yes.
As a standard production car with a cage.
Mhm.
I'd never sat with Phil, and we went down to do notes, and never forget, we set off. First stage pretty quick, second stage pretty quick, about 4th overall, which going to Belgium for the first time pretty quick.
Mhm.
And then we went off on the third stage, well on the right hand, it just dropped it in the ditch,
Mhm.
lost a minute or two, dropped about 10 to 12. So then, of course, Phil, excellent driver, Phil, fabulous driver.
Mhm.
Then he set about going, and we got up to about 7th in that first night, and went off the next day, and he just woken up, and he was incredible. I mean, and I don't know if you know Epa. Epa's very straight,
Right,
flat,
okay.
straight, square left, square right, flat, square left, square right. Telegraph poles along the side of the road. That's all there is. Or you go well off into the fields or something.
Okay.
Well, he was getting quicker and quicker and frighteningly quick,
Mhm.
And that car had 150 mile an hour top speed, so straight line speed.
Right.
And we were on one straight, which must have been 2.5 kilometers long. No chicanes or anything, those things. And we're going along there, and I think, oh my God, and it's on the limiter in 5th as it was. I think, oh hell, I don't know how long, I'm not nervous, but I just thought you can have an accident. You're not going to go off in this. You're going to have an accident.
Yeah.
And then the turbo blew. What bang! And with the no spare turbo, I think, oh shit. He said, that's the end of it. I thought, for once, I've never been so relieved to not finish the event. I thought we cannot keep this pace up for 3 days.
Yes.
It wasn't going to happen.
No.
So we just took the car back, left with the boys, and went on the hospitality of Epa then. But
Yes.
yeah, that was another car I sat in. I forgot about that one.
Yeah.
But
So,
but
yeah,
then
1990, then you got a phone call from Prodrive to sit with Possum Bourne, and again the Audi Sport Rally.
the Audi Sport again. That was nice because I went up to see them and walked in, and they gave me a set of overalls. Now, bear in mind, all this had been voluntary. With Gillanders, it was fine. I had all expenses paid. I had a car. Did not put my hand in my pocket, anything. But I suddenly turned up to Prodrive, and they still would pay you for this. They're paying you, and you sit with Possum Bourne, and then that's fine, and started in Machynlleth. It was started in Telford, first service in Machynlleth, and then went the night before, went on a bit of a run in the car, and everything was fine. And I didn't know that I got there, and our teammate was Marco Allen. I mean, we had a 2-car team, Marco Allen and Possum. I thought, dear me, this is incredible.
And they're paying you for it as well.
Yeah. But then being a big event as it was, and being a Prodrive interested, all the enthusiasts had come to Machynlleth, and my friends were out there. And again, being so pleased to pull in a factory car, and you got the Prodrive service, you got the top officials there, top people, the full hospitality, the motorhome, all the luxuries having to get out in the overalls. And at that point, I forget, we both 3rd or 4th or something like that.
Okay.
And I thought, wow, you've arrived. This is really good. And then the next stage, I forget, Marco Allen broke something. Oh, he didn't go off. Something kind of broke on the car, and then so the pressure's on you now. Frodo was saying, you got to get the result.
Okay.
Well, we were first overall going into the last stage, and 3, 2, 1 on the line, and broke the gearbox off the line. Just stripped first. We managed to limp through, but we lost everything. It had all gone like. I think Russell went on to win it. So that was a nice adventure.
Yeah.
Went away from that, and then I had a phone call a couple of weeks later from John Spiller, who's a team manager there, to say, Ken, can you come on the RAC with us? And we could do with your help, to do logistics and bits and pieces, and your main thing would be looking after Ari Vatanen. Just make sure. I thought, find me. Yeah, fine. So went on the rally, running around in the management car, doing various things, and I obviously everybody, I'd known Ari, I'd known him, but never had to think of meeting him or anything.
No.
So I met him then, and he's just, everybody knows he's such a nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
And when I thought, this is the man, we were at a service point, and it was in the night. It was 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night, quite cold. Motorhome was there waiting for the drivers to come in. I forget who the other drivers were. But then there was a guy there in a wheelchair, and a lovely guy, maybe early 20s, lovely guy in a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
Got talking. I stole you. You're waiting for the driver. I want like to see Harry. I just like to see Harry. I've got a book here. I've got his book because Harry bought the book out after his big accident in Argentina.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, how close he came to death. And he said, I'm in the same position as him, but I'm in a wheelchair. I had a big accident. And I felt sorry for the kid. I'm not sorry, but I said, if I could take the book in for Harry to sign. Well, Harry pulled up, right? And he goes in to get his meal. So the girl, Katrina's giving him this plate. And I said, oh, Harry, there's a lad outside. I said, he's got your book. Shall I bring it in? He said, what's he want? I said, he wants you to sign it. He said, which one? He looked at it, said, the guy in the wheelchair. Oh, put a chair by him, will you? I said, so when I got a chair, Harry came out with his meal, sat down with the bucket, not kidding, sat a meter from him for the whole, while he ate his meal, and he was just talking to the lad, and the lad was talking to him. Harry signed his book, photographed with him, everything. And there's the other drivers inside, in the warm, having the meal, having the tea. And Harry was sat there the whole 15, 20 minutes, talking to the guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I just looked, I thought, fabulous. You've actually made that guy and his parents who were pushing the wheelchair for him, you've actually made that guy, his year,
Yeah, that's it's going to carry forever, isn't it? So.
Yeah, you didn't have to do that. You just had to go up and sign the book or say hi. That's all the lad wanted. No, he sat with him and went through and convinced the guy, don't ever get depressed. Don't when he was talking to him, and he must have made that guy go away feeling 100% and 10%,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like you talk about the mark of a man, that just shows you that he's way beyond rally, and that is, isn't it? So absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that was that. Then that started the association with Prodrive. I then did a little bit in 81 with them, a little bit of just going to help them on a couple of things, and then 82.
92.
I had a phone call, something like a Monday. 92, yeah. 92, I had a call from Jimmy McRae. And he said, Ken, I've spoken to Spiller, and he said, we'd like you to come to Greece for the Acropolis. I said, it's next weekend. Yeah, he said. I said, why don't you fly tomorrow? I said, what? Yeah, he said, why don't you to come out and do the gravel notes with me for Colin? I said, right, okay. And luckily I had my own business, so that was it. Went home, packed, told the wife I'm going away, I'll be back sometime. And flew to Greece and met Colin. I'd met Colin before, but certainly on a different level.
Yes. Certainly
in the McRae clan, And I thought, this has got to work. I've got to make this work. And I sat with Jim. And in those days, you had very quick recce. Their recce cars were full,
Group A cars.
Not Group N, they were fast and good. Recce cars were good. And then that car became our gravel note car.
Right.
So those, there was no limiters or speed restrictions or anything. And you just went as quick or as slow or as whatever you wanted to. And of course, all the crews had gravel cars. So you were going at the pace through the stages. Checking notes at 80, 90, 100 mile an hour, wherever necessary, not now with a 50 mile an hour limiters on it. So it was a proper job, and you had to concentrate and going back and learning all the fact and the way you do your exchange notes, how you want to modify it. And it was Derek Ringer, of course, in those days, who was doing it with.
Yes.
And I did that, which led on to the next event, to the next. And in fact, from Greece, 82, right through every event that Colin did with him, I did for him.
Okay.
Up till his leaving at the end of 97, 97, whatever.
Yeah.
I did every note, mostly 90% with Jimmy. I did some with Alistair when Jimmy couldn't do an event. I did. Alistair stepped in and did no, so I sat with Alistair.
Yes.
Once who else we have then? No, I think that. But anyway, a couple of changes, but all of them with him. Every event, high and low, flew the world and everything. Right. But then, equally, I was what I think doing a good job in 92, 93, 94. Prodrive asked me then if I could become World Rally Team Coordinator, building that, because we had a guy there called John Kennard, who sat with
Hayden Paddon and all
the
that.
new set. Yeah, Hayden Paddon.
Mhm.
John Kennard was the coordinator then, and he was moving over from the World Rally Team to the All Stars, which is the customer team.
Okay.
And they wanted me to take over his role. So I did at the end of 94. Did it all in 95, as well as doing the notes. I was still doing the notes, but still doing the coordinating, which was a heck of it.
Yeah.
You know, long old time. It's really, really busy. But I enjoyed it because it gave me an insight. When you're out on the stage, you're seeing what the drivers are doing. So you can advise management better back, and I could do my job better because I was seeing exactly what they were seeing and doing, speeds and everything. So did that, and then it was during the latter end of the year, Spiller said to me, look, he said, I've been helping you on this. He said, I want you to do the notes on GB, but I want to hand the event to you completely because it's Wales. And I'd like you to take it all because we got a lot of important people. We've got a lot of it. I got to stand back a bit with David. So I want you to take a more full on role on GB, but I'll cover for you when you're out on the stages. And that to me was great because not only was it my first big step into the management sort of situation, but also Colin won the World Championship.
Yes.
On that event. And to be part of that then, you know, to think, my God, I had a major part in this.
Yes.
Not only the organising of everybody getting such a fabulous thing, the hotels, the people, the personnel, the whole logistics of it all, but also doing the notes, helping them on the notes. Yes. And coming away from that, it was great, like, you know, fabulous.
I think, you know, like Subaru won, Colin won the title, and Subaru won the manufacturer's title that year as well too, which was huge for the company as well too, and for Prodrive obviously as well.
We were on a roll then, 95, 96, 97, you know, we were on a roll. And I was doing the Asian Pacific Championship as well. That was my little baby, managing that. So, I mean, we finished in a hell of a party on Sunday night in Chester on that rally. Finished at 5 o'clock in the morning, the party. And at 7 o'clock in the morning, I was driving, or my wife was driving because I got her up there, driving me home to Cardiff. I had to unpack a case and pack a case and get to Heathrow for Monday night because I was flying to Thailand because we were doing the Thailand Rally the following weekend with Richard Burns and Possum Bourne. So, you know, I was straight out to that one because I did 40 events in the Asian Pacific Championship in 93, 94, 95, 96. And Hong Kong, Beijing as well. That's another one. I did the Hong Kong, Beijing as running that. I did the event in 93, and I did the recce, which is a 14-day recce on that event. Yeah, we did a because it was 4,000 kilometers across China. So in 94, I did the recce, and then went over and did Rally Australia. And then came back to Hong Kong, Beijing to do the rally, which was another fortnight away. So we used to go away for about 6 weeks. So I did recce in 93 and then the rally in 94, 95, 96. So I went across China 7 times. You can say, you know, 4 recces and 3 rallies. That was very good. That took a lot of organising because we were running 30 vehicles there.
You needed to everything with you. You couldn't rely on picking up when you were there. Everything had to be loaded.
Everything was contained over. Yeah. And we used the army barracks there for setup in Hong Kong to set everything up. But everything was, the vans was sent over, the cars were sent over. Didn't hire anything. We had with everything our own there. And of course, you had to do your own meals, every vehicle, all the logistics of that. But people do all that because every support car had 4 people in it. Every van had 2 people in it. Okay. So we had 8 support cars, 8 vans, and 4 rally cars. Yeah. But everybody you had to take all your own food. All the food was packed, you know, in a box. Right. So, and there were no radios, no
mobile phones
radios,
or nothing,
no phones. It was radio. And the radios are out of sight, out of range. You know, once somebody's a mile up the road, they'll see them. So because it was straight line rally, and some vehicles had to leave the hotel at 3 in the morning to get up the road because they had to go through the stages before the road closed to get to the system. So you had a vehicle that was servicing maybe at 6 o'clock in the night, but you leave the hotel at 4 in the morning to do his 600 or 700 kilometers, which it
Yes.
was, up the road to get to be at his point. And then you had to send vehicles off so early. And then, of course, once the latter ones would do emergency service up before the stage starts and things like that, or tires. So it took a lot of organizing and things like that, you know. And the only time you met somebody, you'd have a meal with them, maybe 9 o'clock in the night in the car park of the hotel, where you all had your own cookers and burners.
Yes.
You go to bed, say, see you tomorrow night.
Right.
Because a lot of them, they would be gone, way before you or after you, and they'd be gone. You didn't see them at all, you know. So a lot of fun that was, Hong Kong, Beijing. It's,
I think it was what Derek Dunsey was saying about it.
Yeah,
you had to take your tires, your fuel, every nut and bolt basically you had to take with you. You know, it was just unbelievable.
Yeah, everything, because you weren't getting anything in China, you know, and you had to have good people on them, because the road books, road books are no maps. Maps don't exist in China. Road books, but if you took a wrong turning in China, you were lost. You know, you were going. You know, you had four in the van. The vans were difficult because one had to drive, one had to be on the maps. There was no chance to relax. At least in the support cars, you had one driving, one on the road book, and two sleeping.
Yes, so you could alternate them around.
Because every day was 800 kilometers. You know, when you did 4,000 kilometers over the course of 6 days, you know, every day is 800 kilometers. So people were getting tired. You know, so you had to plan it all right for them, because there was no you're getting on the phone. I think I've taken a wrong turn. There was none of that. You know, you and your man, you were that crew. You know, and if you got lost, you were risking the cars. But yeah, you took everything. You took your wheels, and we had obviously suitcase vans. We had a van that took a lot of people's, or especially the driver's baggage. So you'd be at the hotel in the morning. When you had, you know, with 3 cars, so it's 6 crew. So you had their bags and everything, and you had a lot of other stuff that would just leave the hotel in the morning, just go straight up to the hotel for that night. You had a tire van, and you know, you took a lot of tires.
Yes.
You know, you were taking best part of 700-800 tires.
And you had to sort of allow for every eventuality, didn't you? Like, it was different weather conditions, different route conditions.
The organisers laid on fuel with certain fuel stations, but the fuel out there is so pathetic. You know, you always try to carry as much, but that your good fuel ran out after a couple of days. So you were in the boosters and things like that. But it was very logistical nightmare, because the things like going out of Hong Kong into China, that was a major. You had to have Chinese plates on the car, you had to have Chinese number plates, so all that was done beforehand. You had to have a Chinese driving license. So everybody in your crew, like we had 70 people. So the paperwork in those days is nothing computerized. Every person must have 10 or 12 forms to fill in for the number plates, for the licenses. So we all had Chinese driver's license. We all had Chinese plates. So when you got to the border, after Hong Kong, went to the border. There was 2 hours at the border while you went through, but we all had to show our driving license. But then had to put the plates on the vehicles, the China plates, and everything like that. You know, and you went to such places, remote places in China, where they hadn't seen Europeans at all. Right. They couldn't quite get a grasp of European people, you know. And when we were cooking food in the night, you know, like opening a tin of beans and eating them with a spoon. They'd never seen any of that, you know, the chopsticks and you know, and things like that, you know. It was a hell of an experience to go places where, to seeing people working in the fields. I was there with Ari Vatanen one time, and we were on the recce, and we stopped for lunch, and they were looking, and there must have been 100 people working in the field, all on their knees, digging rice or whatever they were doing, working away, digging away. I said to Ari, I said, look at that, Ari. I said, imagine that one tractor would do in the morning what 100 people are doing there all day. Yes, he said, Ken, but typical Ari, he said, yeah, Ken. But if you look at it, you have one tractor, and what would the other 100 people do then? What would they do? Yeah. He said, they're working, they love it. That's the way of life, you know. You think, yeah, well done, Ari. That's typical Ari.
Just turns around and just...
just, you know. So, you know, little things like that, you know, you think, well, yeah, well said, you know. Yeah. So, watching these people looking at us as Europeans, it was really nice to have done it.
Yeah. Just such an experience that, probably if you went back now, it's probably got a certain bit westernized now, and you wouldn't get that same vibe probably.
No,
right place, the right time.
No, it's changed.
Yeah.
We could see it change.
Mm-hmm.
We could see it changing over the years we were there. The roads were being built, and we lost some stages because they tarmacked them or something. But obviously it's changed a long time now. But China in those days was unsafe, nice, safe. You felt comfortable there. But wherever you'd stop and say, let's have a quick stop here and make a cup and a bit of lunch. And within 5 minutes, there were hundreds around. Where they came from, I don't know. They come out to the fields or anything, And to see us going, to watch them working in fields, and they'd never seen cars. I swear these people had never seen cars. They got these foot scooter type things.
Yes.
And we're going through in £250,000 rally cars.
Yeah.
And the people didn't even look.
Yeah.
They were just got on with their work. That's the way they felt. And it would be like you in your garden now, and aliens land in a rocket ship in your garden.
Yeah.
And you'd ignore them. You just wouldn't do anything. You just carry on working. And that struck me. I said, look at this. They're not even leaving their fields. Have a look. They're just working.
Yeah.
That was it,
That's mad.
But yeah, that was another episode. Yeah. Much like Africa. I did a lot of Africa. I did safari many, many times.
Yes.
I think when 96 through till 96 through till it stopped in 2002. I think. That's another fabulous country. And I did it with Colin. I did it with Ari, and did it with Petter.
Yeah, and again, you're probably away 4 or 5 weeks before. The car is completely different, isn't it? The way you have to build the car and set up the car and the whole lot. So.
Yeah, you had to get a workshop there, which we had a same workshop every year, and the cars go out there, and because you're testing, and the recce are so hard, the recce cars had to be rebuilt into gravel note cars, and the preparation and work and everything you had to do there was a lot. It was a major event, but it was very important to Japan.
Okay.
Japan loved. There were 2 events. Japan was very important: Monte Carlo, and Safari.
Right.
From Subaru's point of view, they were the ones who wanted publicity for.
Okay.
No matter what, if you don't win the World Championship, don't worry, just win Monte or Safari. Yeah. That was very important.
That was sell the cars for them.
So So that was it. That proved how they sell Subaru on being a tough all-round vehicle, and if you win Safari, that proved it. So yeah, like Derek, I was very friendly with Derek still, and I worked with him. That we got some good stories between us of things, Hong Kong, Beijing, and Africa's. When we get together, we just reminisce on things like that.
Yeah, it must be something else. And just we'll go back there to '95 again. Was with Colin, that year the championship, what a dream, I suppose. This young guy coming up through the ranks, still only 26, 27 at that stage. To do what he done was just mind blowing. Just took control of the RAC rally that year. There was nobody going to beat him even after it was a puncture or whatever he had. He was unbeatable, wasn't he?
Yeah, he went off. He went up North England somewhere, and then he had to come back from being a minute down or something. But of course, he had the bit between it. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, got me. He had the bit between his teeth after Spain, Catalonia, the rally before. The famous incident, the team orders came in.
Yeah.
David Richards wanted Carlos to win the championship. Obviously, he paid big bucks for Carlos. Colin would have his time. He thought, Colin's got his future. I paid a lot of money for Carlos Sainz. Carlos win the championship, and that was the way it was going. But Colin, he was 10 tenths. Yeah. So that famous scene where the Prodrive, I was doing the gravel notes, obviously, and
yes,
we went through, and then we spoke to Colin before the famous stage where they put the officials in to slow him down. And I remember Colin saying, "What do I do, Dad? What do I do?" He said to Jimmy, and Jimmy said, "Hey son, it's your future, but and I know exactly how you feel. You're a driver, you paid to drive. You're not paid. You paid to win, or you want to win.
Mm-hmm.
So it's up to you. He said, So Colin obviously did it the way he wanted to. He went through, and while they were waving to him to slow down, he went up a gear.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
And then he had to take a time penalty. So of course, after that, he said, "Okay, that's it." And he remember saying to David Richards, "You have given you that one. The RBC is mine."
Right.
And
like that must have been very awkward for you. That you were like the team coordinator and you were the gravel crew. You must have been a difficult one for you.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm working with Carlos's boys. Carlos's gravel crew, Jose and Holby, we called her Jose and Jaime. Great guys. But they were saying, you're supposed to be neutral, Ken. I said, well, I am. I'm as nice to Carlos as I am to Colin. But on the other hand, I'm sitting with Jimmy for 5 days. I can't get excited when Carlos has a fastest time, can I? Not in front of Jimmy, I got to. So it worked out perfect.
Yeah.
It worked out perfect, and Carlos was fine about it. Carlos had his Spain, and Colin got the GB and deservedly the championship. And it was really good, to be part of that.
And like Carlos seemed to be another one of them people who was like a star above rallying as well. He just seemed to have that aura about him, and nearly like a Vatanen kind of a thing about him. He seemed just special, doesn't he, as well?
He was in the media's eye as being, he was the big guy and everything. Colin was the people's champion.
Yeah.
Colin was the underdog, but he was the people's champion, like Hurricane Higgins was with Snooker.
You never knew what to expect next.
And that was Colin. And when Colin left, I carried on doing gravel notes for Kankkunen. Because Kankkunen came to do us, and he said, "Look, I'd like you to carry on." And I spoke to Bill, our team manager. He said, "If you carry on, we seem to be going fine." And I worked with Juha then a couple of years. He was with us doing his notes until we went to Australia in 1990, when we ran Juha, Richard, who else? We had 4 cars, 4 cars there, and I was running Marco Martin, and it was Possum possibly. And after I came to Spiller halfway through that event, I said, "John, this is the last one. I can't do it after this." I was trying to look after 4 lots of service crews. One that got lost in the morning. Then he tried to backfire. He said the maps weren't good enough to you. And I said, no, well, everybody else got the thing. And I thought, hang on, I've got to be able to control this on the ground though. I can't control it from a seat. Getting to an end of a stage with Timo Kankkunen as it was then, and trying to get on the radio. Is everybody okay? And trying to do things I should have been doing from the service park.
Yes.
So that's when I stepped back from that. So I did gravel notes for drivers from Greece 92 right through till end of 90, and then carried on as the coordinating job. So that was Juha was probably. I love Colin, I love Petter, but Juha to me was the one guy who was just the one to work with. He was just Mr. Nice Guy. And people like Ari Vatanen, fine, but but I enjoyed my time working with Juha.
Yeah, like he wasn't a 4-time world champion for nothing. Like, wasn't it 4 different Mexican? He was champion in too as well. Just shows you the mark of the man as well, really. So
we got to Monty in 2000, was it? And Repo really got a bad cold on the recce. So I go up to Sospal in the morning, which is my job. Took the boys up there, and there we are running there, doing the shakedown. Lovely shakedown stage, bit snowy, bit icy up at Sospal there. And Juha came up. The boys brought his car up, and he arrived in the pickup in the people carrier with the guys and he jumped out with a pair of overalls in his hands. So I said, "Where's Repo?" He said, "He's in bed, Ken." "Oh, what you gonna do?" He said, and he gave me the overalls. "You're with me today, Ken." Put them on. You're with me. So I had to go in the motor, change the Repo's overalls, and ended the Monty shakedown with Kankkunen. That was
magic.
Of course, he picked me because I was doing their notes, so I could read his notes fine.
Yes.
So, so we did the start, and we won the start there, and I'm in the overalls helmet, and people are by the window and they're tapping, sign. And we got helmets on. And you are signing things and hands them over to me. I said, what do I sign? He said, you have Apple. So you have Apple. So these people have got these lovely photos of you having action. Can you sign them? And he's saying, you are Kanken, and I do, you have Apple. And he's laughing, and he's such a bit of fun to work. Anyway, we set off. That's the thing I remember now, 200 hairpin right. So we set off like 200 hairpin right. And then it was like 100 flat left, 2 or 3 or 400 meters, flat uphill, slightly slippy into hairpin left, So going up, and I go 100 hairpin left, 50 left, and then he does a Scandinavian. It's a hairpin left with a big high wall on the outside going up this hill, and he does the old flick. He flicks it to the right, and think, oh my God, what's happening? Chucks you out the left. We have a full drift on, and of course it's my side now, and we're just about to skim the wall, inches from the wall while he's putting it up the hill like. And I looked at him to think, what the fuck? And he looked at me, and he winked at me. He said, good, aren't I? Brilliant. And I'm laughing. So we went up the stage, and of course, I'm trying to get myself together. I'm calling notes to him. And I knew I was a bit behind, some parts, and I'm trying to catch up on the notes. Got to the end. He said, how was that? I said, fabulous. I said, I might have slipped on a couple of spots. He said, you missed a lot of spots, Ken. He said, I was just one listening to you. I said, oh, thanks, you were. But just that sort of person he was. There's me thinking I contributed well. He said, you missed a lot of spots, but I just didn't listen. And it was fabulous thing, Yes. So that's the sort of
what an experience, So.
doing Monty Shakedown with Kanken. It was nice. They went back to the normal job then.
I know. And then
of course, go on.
Sorry, in 2001, then Richard won the championship for you again. It must have been kind of bittersweet because he was leaving the team at the end of the season. Like you were putting your blood, sweat, and tears into it, and to know that he was at the end of the rally, it was like, I'm away here, lads.
It was, it's awful because you've still got to put the full effort in. And in all fairness to Richard, he was a team player, although he was leaving. Obviously, we came into some confidentiality issues then. Engineers weren't allowed to say a lot of things to him and show him things, Right. Not when you're leaving and going to a competitor. You've got to hide a lot of facts. But that's a small point. But Richard was a true professional till the end. He went for the championship. He won the championship. But it was awkward for us because after having Colin and losing him, after having Juha and Juha saying, well, he's not no more, like he's packing up. And then we had the next world champion, Richard, and him going, and all we're left then with is a young Petter.
Yes, as the young guns,
as Richard was a youngster, but we had Petter come in up the realms a bit, so the pressure was put on him a bit then, So when of course Richard went, we signed Tommy. So Tommy joined the ranks, but it never materialized that well. Tommy, he never quite performed in the car as we'd have hoped with it really, So
but
don't know why they didn't see him.
Petter, it seemed to just make the man out of Petter too, didn't it? He stepped up to the mark, really. Without a doubt.
Him and Tommy got on very well.
Okay.
But Petter was in they did get on really well, but and Tommy helped him. When Tommy realised he wasn't, his world championship days are probably finished,
Okay.
He was at the latter end of his career, and then you could see Petter was starting. They did work together well. And another highlight of mine, of course, because I was doing notes for Petter. I wasn't doing those for Petter. I did a little bit for Petter, but not that. But I mean, working with Phil, and and got on well with Petter. First time I met Petter, got on well with him. But to be again looking after that job and winning the world championship for him, which was fabulous. Another highlight probably of the career.
Yeah, because like
that.
Petter seems to have so much energy about him. He must, he must bring out the best in everybody around him. Because like by looking at him, he's given everything he's got. If there's 1 gram of something not there, he's thrown it at the car, isn't he?
Very, very emotional. He would come into service, he would be annoyed, he'd kick chairs, he'd do everything, or he'd come in and bury himself in the corner in tears.
Right.
With frustration. He beat himself up every time, The trouble is he wouldn't leave a car alone,
Okay.
He was a frustrated engineer, I remember him famously, he was fastest on Finland on one of the stages. Fastest, we'd be tinkering with the car, fastest time. He comes down the road and he stops and he's getting out and he's doing damper clicks then, adjusting dampers, always looking for more, always looking for better. And you think, well, Pet, and the engineers are screaming at him. They all think like, let's just Loctite all the bolts together. Let's Loctite it so we can adjust, because if you get a fastest time on a stage, don't alter the car. Don't just
it's working.
And that was a frustrating thing. The car would come back into service. It would never come back as it left. So the engineers had very little to work with. They set it up on one thing, but when it came back, I altered this, I did a few clicks there, I did a bit of that, I dropped the tire pressure there. So you've got nothing to work with. If you have a fastest time, come back, right, that works obviously on that, but it was so difficult, when you can always see him when you look at videos of him, he's always one hand on the wheel and one adjusting things, so that's but yeah, I got on well with him, but unfortunately Subaru's didn't go in the right direction. So 2005, 6, 7 way onwards, and then I was in Bologna with Petter at the rally sprint. I was looking after him there because I did Bologna rally sprint a few times. I did it with Chris Atkinson, Marco Martin, Valentino Rossi, and Petter. I did New Zealand with Rossi because that was my thing to look after him then. Yeah, I ran him in 2007 up there, and that was another great experience. That just because it was Rossi. Just a quickie, Rossi was tested in Qatar, so for the Yamaha, and he had to fly from Qatar direct to Auckland. Well, he didn't land till 8 o'clock Tuesday morning into New Auckland, and the recce started at 9, about 200 miles away. So there was no way. So, and we had a plan. The organisers gave us a helicopter. I got taken to Auckland the night before, stayed in the hotel, waited for Valentino in the morning when he came in the airport. Helicopter was out on the pad ready. The boys took the car straight to the stage start to start the recce. So they were at the stage. We lined up with all the cars to start the first stage at 9. Valentino landed. I think it landed about 7:30 quite early. A couple of media there, they picked up the fact that they stopped. So Valentino came out and had taken photos. Can I interview? I said, no, nothing. And Valentino, I do a quick chat. So we had a quick chat to them. So anyway, he comes out. He was great because I done Bologna the year before with him, or a little bit before. So it was ciao Ken. So he said, where's the car? I said, we helicopter. I said, we helicopter. Oh, okay. So we went around the back way, helicopter fired up. We flew down to the recce, and Rossi's in the helicopter. And there was a bit of turbulence, not much, but the helicopter, as we went over the hills and down, it was close. And he's grabbing the handle. He's got white knuckles. I said, what's wrong? He said, oh, I don't like this. And I'm thinking, Rossi, my God, what you do on a motorbike. And there you are, a bit of turbulence in the chopper, and you feel. But anyway, yeah. So then we landed, we hovered above the boys saw us coming in. They had a field marked, and that was a fabulous landing in the helicopter in the field. There's Loeb, there's Gron Home, there's all the top drivers all lined up waiting to go off in the cars. Helicopter lands. I walk out the helicopter with Rossi,
Oh,
there's the car. Got him in the car, had a quick chat. Like I said, we'll see you lunchtime. Went back in the helicopter, flew back, and he dropped me in the service park. Back with the thing. So that was a nice thing. But so I was in Bologna with Petter in 2008, and he had a phone call. Because he had a year's contract. He had a contract for 2009, but he wanted the contract for 2010 as well.
Okay.
He was pushed for a 2-year contract. So the Japs rang him and they said, we'd like to meet you tomorrow. This was on Monday. Where? He said, well, in Nice, because Petter had his own plane then. He flew from Nice to, he was living in Monaco. Flew from Nice to Bologna. So I said, well, we'll meet you in Nice. So he's all there. So I'm taking him back to the airport that night for his plane. So he said, oh, Ken, he said, I'll phone you tomorrow. He said, I know what Japan wants. He said, I've been asking for a 2-year contract. They want to extend my contract. That's what they want to do. He said, they're going to extend my contract for 2 years. I said, that'd be great, Petter, you know. So at least we got you locked in. He said, I don't want to go anywhere else. That's fine. But of course, it wasn't that. They met him in Nice because they flew into London to meet David Richards to say, we're stopping, now.
Right.
And then they flew down to tell Petter directly.
Right.
And they flew down to Nice, had a meeting with him in the airport and said, we're stopping now. Because I had a phone call on the Monday morning from Finland, of all places, from a guy who was working with Tommy Mackinnon to say, Japan is stopping. So I said, no. And they said, they are. I said, no, it hadn't been announced. Nobody knows. But of course, I had that phone call while they were flying down to meet Petter. So Petter rang me that night and said, guess what? And that was it. That was the news. So back we all went to Prodrive, and there's a bit of a doom and gloom, you know. After the year, you know, when you're in my case, I was in a job for 18 years, Prodrive there, and 18 years, 1990 through to 2008, and all the team there, you think it's not going to finish. Subaru all the time, you know, Japanese. And when it stopped like in motorsport, they don't say, oh, we're going to stop at the end of next year. I mean, they stopped then. So that was it. You know, they were instantly going to be best part of 250, 280 redundancies in Prodrive and everything. So my job was on the cards a bit because I'm the rally team coordinator and we got the World Rally team.
Yeah, there's no coordinate, to coordinate,
And Prodrive can be a bit ruthless. I'm not going to keep you for the sake of keeping you, you know?
Yeah.
Well, so Petter rang me then. I went to Monte Carlo just to have a nose. I flew down to Monte. Although I was still employed by Prodrive, I took time off, flew down to Monte to have a look what was going on and did a little bit of work there with people. And then Petter rang me straight after that and said, where are you? And at that time I was in Germany or something. I said to him in Cologne. He said, he said, I'd like you to come to Monaco. I said, when? He said, no. I said, but it's Sunday afternoon. He said, well, I'll meet you tomorrow at the airport. Let me know your flight. Flew down. He said, I'll tell you when you get here. So I went to see him. Driving in the car. He said, I got some money, some sponsorship. I bought a Zara, 4 or 5-year-old Zara. Panilla's in the apartment. I wanted to sit down and go through everything. I wanted to start my own team. I said, okay. So I stayed there 2 days and went through everything with Panilla because, of course, I had all the facts and figures, you know, logistical costs and freight and hotels. So we were putting together figures, how much to go here, how much to there, what it cost, all the things. I put together the whole thing over 2 days. And he said, okay, Ken, I want you to manage my team for me. You know, we'll find, we've got an engineer, we want to find this, we want to find those. So we got a small team together. He got his own truck and we went to Norway. Norway was our first rally in 2009, World Championship rally. And we did that, man. And fine, you know, the Zara was a bit of an old nail. We got second in Cyprus with it and everything. Then of course that changed to a
C4
DS3. C4. So and then on. But then in was it 2010 when Phil had enough. Phil had decided he didn't want to do anything. Never mind what the reasons were with it all, but Phil wanted out and he gave us not a bit of short notice, but it was a bit of short notice. I'm out. And it was Bulgaria, was it? Bulgaria, the only time I was in the championship was the next event, tarmac event. So Petter said, oh my God, want a co-driver? Anyway, a couple of people called him, no. So then FX the Maison, who's infamous for Volkswagen and all that, FX with our engineer at the time, he said, I'm arranging a test in France. And Petter's come in to test the car, and I've got 3 co-drivers, or 2 co-drivers. I want Petter that one of them will be his co-driver thing. Okay. At that point, I was talking, getting on well where I was for years with Chris Patterson. So I called Chris. I said, where are you, Chris? He said, in Ypres. So I said, would you like to go down to Lyon? Yeah, can you get yourself down to Lyon? I'd like to sit with Petter in the car. And Chris has done a bit but this is suddenly going to Premier League.
Yes.
Petter to go. So I said, go down. I said, so anyway, I rang FX. I said, I got a guy coming to test. I said, dude, Chris Patterson. Don't know, never heard of him. So then I said, well, he's coming down. He'll be in the end tomorrow. And you sort out, pick him up, and I'll give you details. Then Petter rang me. Who's this guy? I said, Chris Patterson. I said, he hadn't done much. I said, Chris is on. I said, Petter, let me sit in the car with you. Just give it. I think you'll get on okay, you know. Mm-hmm. So I phoned Chris. Chris was on his way down. I called Chris. I said, look, Chris, you better have some thick skin here and broad shoulders. Mm-hmm. Because I said, you go into a bit of a hostile thing. Not Petter, but FX wants a French co-driver in there. He wants to be, he wants to put his man in there. So anyway, all went well. Petter rang me that night. He said, I made my mind up, Ken, for the entry for thing. So he said, Chris Patterson. He said, head and shoulders above anybody. He said, really good. Brilliant. So I said, excellent. Like, you know, so I ran Chris then, and I said, you got it, Chris. Like, so that was the start of the Chris Petter relationship, which worked out well. Because went to Bulgaria and we were third overall, which was good for a private team. You know, we were only 12 people. Yeah. You know, and first time out, we got a third overall there, like, which was very good.
Yeah, and even in that stage, you were in the C4, and so was the works cars. But you just wouldn't have the same, like, you'd have been a step or two behind them developments and parts and one thing or would you? Yeah,
but we weren't. Citroen weren't very good to Petter,
right?
Despite the fact that you know, they because we were run by a lot by PH Sport Mechanics at some point when we had the semi-factory car, and then we were running with Kimi Räikkönen. Kimi was in one car, we were in the other, and Kimi's car was, they'd swap cars one time, and Kimi's was much better than ours, you know. Right. We weren't getting the thing. Nobody was going to beat Loeb, you know. Right. You weren't going to beat Sebastian Loeb.
Okay.
And there was an instance in Greece when Petter threw the toys at the pram because we were going well, and he was like 30 seconds up on Loeb, or you know, the night before, and then they sent their engineer around each night. We weren't allowed to engineer. We could do anything to it, but all the electrics were done by Citroen engineer. And went out in the morning, and Petter was going ballistic at the end of the first stage because the car's not right. Something wrong with the car. It's not what it was yesterday, and it was obvious it was taking a step back.
Right.
You know, we were not going to carry on dominating, being the lead in Citroen.
Right. And
that was when the trust went with Citroen, and I'm sure Petter would have carried on, you know, had it been a bit more fair. I mean, he left at 11. He went to the Ford deal because he said all I'm doing with Citroen is testing their parts, because we were testing parts and they were coming off and going on to factory cars. So we were almost like a development car.
A guinea pig as such, yep.
And I know Petter was paying 2.4 million euros a year for that car and the deal. And Kimi was paying a bit more, but Kimi had their service. We took our own service truck, our own catering, a couple of our own mechanics. But that, you know, Petter did not want to put another 2.5 million in for another year of being a development driver in a sense. You know, we were never going to be allowed to beat Sebastian.
No.
So so that's when he went to Ford for the year, and then. Of course, after he went to that was the end of Petter's career. Then after Rallycross,
yeah. So at that stage, then you were looking for somewhere new.
Yeah, 2012, I did a bit of work with the Junior Championship, and when the guy Brendan Reeves from Australia helped him out, I did a bit with DMAC and various things.
Yeah.
And then I did a bit with Martin Wilkinson, the CA1. Worked quite a bit with Ken Skidmore at Autotech.
Yes.
Looking after the young Oit Tanak of those days, because Oit was a youngster driving one of Ken's cars. And then I got invited to America, to Vermont Sports Cars, to work as a team manager, on-event team manager, running the rally team with David Higgins. David Higgins was driving.
Yes.
Obviously then. And I went over there, did a couple of events with them, and then they set off on their global rallycross. So they said, well, they'd like to take me off the rally and me look after the rallycross team, which I did for 2 years until the global rallycross came to a stop in 2015. I was still doing that and still doing some world championship rallying. I was still working with Ken Skidmore and DMAC, looking after Elvin when he won the British Championship that year, and various bits and pieces, lots of little ones drop in the thing there, you know, the drivers I worked with. But then Derek Dorsey rang me early 2016 and said, "Can you meet me?" And the service, I said, "Yeah, you got a bit of a deal for you." He said, Ford Performance and Hoonigan Racing are doing the World Championship, World Rallycross Championship. Ken Block, Andreas Baccarat. And he said, "Ken, I'd like you to work with me. Not for me, I'd like you to work with me because I got busy time looking after Ken. I'd like you to look after." So we had a fabulous team of 22 people, two very, very, very expensive cars out of M Sport, the World Rallycross cars. And they set off on that venture for 2 years, which was very good, very hard work, but Derek is fabulous to work with. Ken Block, real gentleman, really good guy. And Baccarat, been friends with Baccarat ever since, working with him. And that was good, except the focus was good in the first year, but then everybody went off. We arrived on the scene and dominated in a way. We won quite a few events. We were quite dominant. And I think when that winter, the others went off. At that point, we had Sebastian Loeb, we had Ericsson, we had some very excellent. I mean, we had some good quick drivers in it, you know. They went off and thought, we'd have a look at this again. So they did a lot of testing. We did some testing, but went backwards, I think. And when we came out the blocks in 2017, we weren't as competitive as 16, and we struggled that year. And to the end, Derek was then saying, "Well, look, the focus isn't working. The focus isn't working. Let's put it all in the Fiesta shell. It's still bad." And America saying, "We don't sell the Fiesta in America. We only sell the Focus."
Oh, yes.
Well, so does it matter? It's got a Ford badge on it. You're just publicising Ford. If we put all this running gear in a Fiesta, we've got a winner again. But they wouldn't have it, and then they pulled the plug at the end of 17. That was that. They said no. So.
It was such a shame because that car had so much potential, hadn't it? Like it was
that and Ken Block. When you look at that championship, the people who had in it, but you had Loeb, you had Ken, you had some really good names.
Petter was still there at that stage.
Petter in it, the whole thing was taken off great. There were more stars there than on the World Rally Championship at the time. That sense, but that stopped
and it was built for TV as well, wasn't it? Like short, sharp races and non-stop action. It was, it had everything. It really had.
Yeah. So that was a shame because that was a 5-year deal. Ford Performance wanted the 5-year plan. Ken was going to do the first 2 years, possibly the third year. We had Baccarat, and we were going to then bring on possibly another American driver, and Ken would stand back as like the main man in the team. So that stopped quickly, which 2 years, that was a good experience. So then after then, of course, everything had dried a little bit. Motorsport in the UK is very difficult. I mean, CA1 Sport not lost customers. There wasn't the demand from UK drivers to go rallying. Things like that. You had your people like Reese Yates and Gus Greensmith and that, but they would go to M Sport, paying the money to M Sport. Who had all their purse in place. So people like Autotech, who ran NASA and CA1, they were sort of didn't have enough business to warrant
like a team manager.
That's a situation. So I did some work then with IMG, who were the promoter of the World Rallycross Championship, because they were running the ARX in America. And because I worked in America, they said, could I look after the ARX side of it, the American side of the championship? I said, yeah. So I did that in 18. And then in 19, I did some work with them as well. And last year I did a bit of work with Liam Duran and Andreas Baccarat in the championship. But then, of course, it all stops now.
Yes.
So, well.
and do you miss it? Like, do you miss all that go the whole time? Are you quite?
I miss it all. I mean, now I'm slowed down a bit, forced to be slowed down. I appreciate that time, but it is lovely when it's all you've done for 35 years, and especially in the heydays with Subaru, have taken at least 40 or 50 people on events, probably 75, 80 on Africa's. Place like that, in Hong Kong, Beijing, and looking after those guys, you make lots of friends, and the successes, working with the drivers I have. I think if you add it up, I've worked with something like 26 World Championship drivers, people like Didier Auriol, Piero Liati, and all the names you go back over the years, you think, and the experiences I've had, just suddenly I miss it, but I can see the sport changing now. It's not the same. The service parks aren't the same. The buzz, the whole thing isn't there. It's much more professional now, and the crack has gone out of it that you used to have. You always used to, every event you went to, you had the pub where everybody would meet. If you went out on your own without any teammates, you'd go in the pub, you'd meet the Citroen boys or the Ford boys, or you'd always end up having a bit of a crack. And there was always a Sunday night party. No, there's not. In the World Championship now, everybody's Sunday night, pack up, get home as quick as you can.
Right.
All those things gone. When the likes of Hyundai arrived and Volkswagen arrived, they weren't allowed to go out in the night, not allowed to leave the hotel, not allowed to drink. From the time you get there, the time you leave back, you're not allowed to have a drink. I'm not knocking it. If that's the true professional thing of the sport, that's it. But when you've worked, as I have, in what you call the good old days, they were the good old days,
Yes.
And you get people like over you in Ireland, got Sammy Irwin, who now works for Toyota. A lot, and that's sort of the guy I remember. I was always discovered we pint and the crack, and it's not there. The last WRC where I went on, I thought, hey boys, you all think this is great. You should have been here in the other days.
20 years ago, yeah.
Yeah. So it's and I'm still involved. I'm still helping a guy out now to get some deal in the European Championship. So I think I'm off to Croatia in a month's time for that, helping a guy out in Croatia. And then I think I'm going to the Azores, which is the first of the European Championship events, a month after. And probably Portugal WRC. So there's little bits and pieces there. But I don't enjoy the thing, when you used to go to Heathrow, meet all the boys, and you were going off to Australia or New Zealand, Argentina, Mexico, places like that, and you were going away for 10 days, 2 weeks, and it was a challenge.
It was a proper adventure as such.
And we had in Prodrive, we had some great. I was just one cog in the wheel. Everybody had to do their bits, and now, and I don't take anything away from anybody now, they get on a coach, they go to the airport, they land at the airport, they put in a bus, they take in the hotel, service park, hotel, back to the airport, home. Yeah. I was growing up in the days when you put 2 guys or 4 guys in the car, you said, you go down there.
Yes.
And you get there, you find your own way. Don't ring me if you're stuck or anything. You're on your own. You're not.
You have to be there at this time, and whenever you're finished there, you have to be here.
You look at some of them now, they come out to the hotel in the morning and they're all throwing the keys. I don't want to drive. No, they all want to get in the back and sleep for the 5 minutes down to the service park. I just grew up in days where, everybody had their part to play and they played it, but at the end, you celebrated or you whatever, but it was good. So it's been a great career.
Yeah, because I like the guy that was changing the wheels in Colin McRae's car felt every bit as much as he had contributed to Colin won the championship as you did or Dave Richard did or whatever, because that was such a team effort, wasn't it? Really. So.
And everybody could do everything. You could go on now. They have a corner man.
Right.
You start around the back corner. And when you're good, you just go to a front corner, but you never go under. If it's gearbox change, you have gearbox man. And to do with the engine, that's the engine man, or there's a damper man. I grew up in the days when everybody did everything, and if you had to weld something on, you welded it.
Yes.
You could weld, you could do it down, you could repair dampers, you could do work in any corner, you could change a box, you could change a clutch, because you never knew when a car would pull in an emergency service. There's only 3 of them, want a clutch in it.
You just have to do whatever has to be done.
They had to do it. Yeah. So that's what's missing now, and I've done a lot with Tuttles, quite a bit with Richard Tuttle with in Africa. I did it's a run every 2 years, and I've done it 13, 15. East African Safari Classic. Yeah. I missed one. I did 2013. We had 18 cars, so 18 Porsches. It's a lot of people. 15 I did, 17. I did 17, and I did 19 not long ago. 2019, and the next one is coming up this year. And that again is you're putting 2 guys in a car. We hire out there. We hire these Safari Land Rovers to get them all out as a service vehicle. Because last time we went in 12 cars with there, we have 12 support vehicles, and that's your vehicle. Well, you have those 2 guys.
Right.
And then you get a message that the car is stuck in the stage 70 kilometers in.
Right.
So you have to say to those guys, well, we'll see you. Just go in and we'll see you later with the rallies going on. And those guys have to go in, they have to do anything. You know, they have to weld it back together, might have to clutch in it, put a front corner on it. So
they don't even know what they're going to see when they get there.
no, they don't know, no. You know, and that's the trouble Richard has now. When you've got an event coming up the end of this year, however many entries he's got, you're trying to find people who are good all-rounders, not somebody who can wash your windscreen and change the wheel.
Yes.
You know, you've got to have somebody that you can chuck anything at and say go, you know.
I can rebuild the front corner of Fiesta. That's no good. You have to be able to get in below the car and do whatever as well. Yeah, true.
Yeah, you know, that's the thing, finding these people, and they're all aging. They're all getting older, like, you know. The boys who were working on cars in the 70s and 80s and 90s, you know, when you were in the emergency service, car came out of a stage up the road, you were instantly there, and you just have to get it mobile to get it down to the main service, you know.
Yes.
And those sort of people, not wipe the windscreen and the lights and say, but not taking anybody. It's a different sport now. It's not.
It's corporate now, isn't it? Yeah, the sport has gone out of it now.
I mean, the WRC rally is great. The recent one in Arctic, it looked fabulous.
Yes.
But they are sprint events now. You know, when I go to Africa on the safari, I mean, one of the sections is 180 kilometers long. 180. That was the total length of the Arctic Rally. You know, the whole Arctic Rally over 2.5 days. I mean, you had Stig Blomqvist. He came out of bed at 7 o'clock in the morning, start the stage from outside the hotel 8 o'clock in the morning. 180 kilometers later, you saw them. You know.
Yes.
And still driving as fast as you can and whatever. But that sort of thing, you know, those. And that's how safaris used to be, and those are the tough endurance type things. You know, it's I know it's a different end of the spectrum, but now, you know, we all get excited watching the WRC and wow, look at this stage. How long is it? 9 kilometers long. You know, it's sprint events.
Yeah.
And
then there's ways that's brought, you know, it's tightened up the competition. You know, rallies is decided by seconds now and whatever. You know, it has its advantages. Yes, of course it has. You know, but
it has it. It's very thrilling. It's like that. But the other thing, I mean, so is rallycross. You know, rallycross is a great sport to watch, in my opinion. You know, it's going to go electric. Like everything's going to go electric, and like it or not, that's the change thing. And I know that there's a lot of people out there, me included, in the beginning, say, "Oh, it won't be the same." But cars are sold not on cars are sold not by the sporting department; they're sold by the PR departments. Yes. When you go to a board meeting, it's the PR department that put the budgets in, and that the PR, you know, you sell cars for winning. You know, that's the whole. Manufacturers don't care about the sport inside. Manufacturers want to sell cars, and they sell cars by getting wins. They get front page publicity, and when that's not happening, they'll turn to another sport. Yeah, you know, if Toyota were racing powerboats and suddenly they rally and they didn't win rallies anymore, they go into powerboats. They go where they sell the item. Yeah. And if you look on television now, everything is electric. Hybrid, if possibly, but there's no adverts for normal petrol or diesel vehicles. And you can see the way it's going, so the sport has to keep up with it. Yeah,
already it's all probably already lagging behind slightly. You know, they're only bringing out a hybrid next year, where Formula One and even Formula E have already took that next step.
And then you get this Extreme E now. The championship. I mean, okay, there's not a lot of entries, but it's going to the right people. It's electric vehicles. It's running in the green climate type of, you know. It's appealing.
So that will appeal to manufacturers too, as well, won't it? You know. So.
Yeah, that appeals. So you won't get a manufacturer into World Championship Rally or WRC unless it goes electric, or certainly hybrid. But I think if it's going to be hybrid, you've got to be able to promise them it'll go electric. Yeah. I mean, we had it in rallycross, and we had Citroen, Volkswagen, Ford, with 4 manufacturers in there, and then IMG put off going electric for a year. And they dropped out. They said, we're here because we wanted to do electric development.
We were told that this was coming.
And when IMG put it off, Peugeot left, Volkswagen left. You know, you're not left. There's no matter. Ford left. Ford are interested in going electric with them. They went, and now you won't get them back. Now, hopefully, now that the WRC / Red Bull have taken over as promotive, World Rallycross.
Mhm.
It will get going. They're supposed to be going electric next year, or certainly 50% electric. So I think that if they market it right and get it right, then you might get the manufacturer interest back in then,
Mhm.
because Rallycross is certainly great viewing, and it's good for TV. And if you sell electric cars on that, once you go in the electric category,
Because
so
what you look, Hayden Paddon, like you look at the car he's
Yeah.
developing, like it's spectacular, and he's now working on sound for it too. You know, like everybody says,
Yeah,
you know, we're not going to have the noise, but the noise will come. The car
Yeah,
looks spectacular
yeah.
on the stages.
It's an awful thing, and there's a lot of your listeners and out there maybe knocking me, but you know, I love the sound of a 2-litre BDA coming down the road.
There's
I
nothing better, yeah.
I like going to West Cork or anywhere and listening to every 30 seconds coming down the road. Wow, wow, wow. You know, you can never replace that.
No.
But times move on, you know, and we can't live in the past. If we want to stay in motorsport, if we want to bring people on, you've got to think electric, and you've got to think of, you know, engineers have got to think electric and everything now, you know. So
unfortunately, yeah, that's the way it's going to be. But you know, to keep up, we have to move on.
yeah. But I'm glad I was there in the good days, you know.
Yeah, the memories you have are priceless, aren't they?
Oh yeah. I love it, you know. And then we have a Prodrive reunion every Christmas. We all get together and meet in the pub and have a chat, like, and things like those sort of situations are good. And like, as I say, when I meet up with Derek, I catch up with him soon. He's in America at the moment for Ken. But you know, we reminisce over the past times, like.
Yeah.
But he's like me, he knows he's going to go electric and knows everything, you know. But so yes, 100-acre rally this weekend. That's
right.
good.
Yeah, it'll be interesting now to see how it goes. And McKenna has got this Fiesta now as well too.
He's got 8 cars out there, McKenna.
Oh,
he's running 8 cars, including Ken.
Yeah,
Ken in the Skoda.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, he's doing well out there. Yeah, you're getting some good battle. You've got Ken, you've got McKenna, you've got Travis Pastrana.
Yeah. Yeah,
there's a lot going on in America.
It's starting to really kick off, isn't it? You know, so
there's a lot going on in America. That ARA Championship now with those sort of names, and to doing it, you've got the Nitro games, Rallycross at the end of the year, 5 events, and that's America do that right. It's the big razzmatazz. You've got Travis Pastrana, you've got the jumps, you've got the excitement, you know.
Fireworks.
And they make a big they make a big show of it, you know. And all the Americans want to do is sit in the stand with a popcorn and a can of Coke, don't they? And watch these cars doing these things, and it makes good TV with them. And Pastrana's got it right. I mean, he plans 5 events this year, 9 next year, then it's going global in 23. He wants to go global with it, so which I think it'll work, because there's big Red Bull backing in that. So.
Yeah, there's money there being spent there, and it might encourage Subaru down the line to come back as well too. You know, whenever he's there involved in it as well. You know, so well, Ken, I really appreciate you taking the time for joining us. It's been a pleasure to reminisce with you and listen to the stories.
It's a pleasure. But hope I haven't gone on too fast, rambled on, bored everybody. It's a pleasure. Regards to everybody in Ireland. Right. Love it. Love the country the best. I'll be over there as soon as I can be.
Hopefully we'll get back out again soon.
Yeah. Okay.
That was Ken Rees and myself, Kevin Glendinning, talking rally. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you liked it, could you please like and share it across all social media platforms? And if you're listening to Apple Podcast, can you please rate and the podcast? It was greatly appreciated. Until the next time, take care. Speak soon. Bye.